whatever.
I can make sure it's an active link.
Well, it probably is. It's just, who knows, but I click on so many links.
If anything can go wrong with tech, it'll go wrong with me. Like, I am the source of all things random.
All right, I'm texting Marcelina right now.
I tried, so Fairway had turkeys on sale, so a week and a half ago, I bought a turkey and I cooked it like a kapalua, they call it kapalua pulled pork. It's a Hawaiian smoked pork. Cooked it the same way. It turned out fantastic.
Awesome. Was it like the test run before Thanksgiving? Are you gonna do that again?
I don't know if my crock pot will be big enough because it was like the turkey
Yeah.
breast with the bone in that I did it with. But it was, I think I'm gonna try to season it the same way and it's
Yeah.
super slow. It was a crock
You'll have
pot.
to, I was gonna say, you have to send me the recipe.
I always want to try a deep fried turkey, and everyone was always like, "Oh, they're so good." I'm like, "Why won't someone make one for me?"
Yeah.
Then?
Yeah, I don't want to do the.
Oh, here I got
deep
somebody.
fried.
I got Marcy. Yep,
There we
let me
go.
promote her to panel this.
All right.
I've seen too many like scary things with deep fried.
I know, right? I'm like, I don't want to
We do
do it.
smoked turkey, so we get the smoker out and we'll do smoked turkey breast. But this year we're going to Mexico.
Okay, now she's coming on. I think.
So we're leaving on Thanksgiving, so
Good for you.
I know. So this is the same place we went after the campaign last year after the election. So
Very cool.
yes, the babies are so excited.
Okay.
I'll smoke turkey once in a while.
Yes, so we smoke everything.
You have to brine it though, I feel like.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, usually we do it for a couple days. We'll brine it.
I think everyone's
Everybody's here?
get the door. Sorry, Dennis, I'm gonna have to swing this door.
Am I good?
It's these chairs. For the room. Where the table is, I'm not sure.
All right, we are recording here and we'll call the meeting to order at 1:20. We will start off with roll call. So we'll start with the room. So Commissioner White's here. Hand it over here.
Commissioner Don DeConkis here.
Monsucker here.
Commissioner Kennedy here.
Kristen Stifler, Executive Director.
Oh, sorry, Caitlin Smith, Public Service Manager.
All right, and that's everybody in the room, and then we'll go to online. Commissioners that are online.
Go ahead, Marcy.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Ordez here. I am not there in person today due to some evening commitments that I could not be late for again this month. So that's why I'm not there in person.
Sam Quaker here. I was in West Des Moines yesterday for a meeting and League of Cities. I wasn't able to come back again today.
All right, thank you. And I don't see anybody public on.
Nope, I don't see any other.
All right, then we will move on here. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from I'll start with September, but we have September and October. So to start with, we'll discuss September. Right, there's no discussion.
We need a motion to approve the minutes.
We need a motion to approve the minutes
September.
of September.
I'll make
I have
the
a question. Oh, go ahead. Wait for discussion.
Go ahead, Sam.
We need a second.
Second.
Okay.
Just so we can discuss it.
Then open for discussion.
All right, let's open for discussion.
Yeah, I think Roman numeral 6, the first line, the commission received work. I think that's probably a word. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Marcy, I might hand that over to you on that one.
I'm pulling it up here.
Marcy's looking, last meeting, I passed around a copy of the minutes for the board and commissions review committee, and that they are really concise, simple, don't go into a lot of detail. And so I guess one of the questions that I raised last time was what is required to go into the minutes? We can make this job a lot easier, I think, by not having somebody attempt to summarize discussions, because they don't really tell you what happened. And it just seems to me like we're putting more work into this than is actually required.
So I went through on that topic and looked through several organizations, Iowa DOT, Iowa Department, the Board of Education. And then where was the other one? There was another board, state board. And I think ours were fairly in line with what I would think is average. There was a 4-page minute meeting from one of the state boards. The other one was a 3-page. That was probably closer to what ours is. That's the Board of Regents. And when I went to I think it was Iowa, the other one was 3 pages long. And that was a board for the highway research. So just a quick kind of glance. I don't know that I felt that we were off, but I don't have any
I
specific.
mean, are we
problems.
gonna use, I mean, like, do we use a grammar checker? I mean, are we gonna use complete sentences? I mean, we don't
I
do
would,
that.
I wouldn't even say that that's what I've seen consistent across the different
Yeah.
boards I looked at, that there were
I was
full
just curious,
sentences or
'cause
full thoughts.
Yeah,
I also emailed the office of the CIO today because there is a Zoom AI plugin. I know I've talked to you guys about it. I use it for my work now, or I have used it. And it summarizes the meetings. It breaks it into different portions for you. So it basically will take the Zoom meeting and put it into a summary. So I think that'd be a great tool if they have it and allow us to use it. I'll let you know when I hear back.
From a historic standpoint, we are required to keep minutes for a very long time. In fact, we just are in discussions based, or obviously cleaning, and seeing what documents we need to keep, what documents we can throw away. And we actually have to offer all of our minutes to the Historic Society. And in fact, I think the last conversation I had is that they will be accepting our minutes. So just know that these minutes are not exactly for forever, but for forever. So less is always more for us. I think that has been the recommendation from that I have heard in regards to how to draft minutes. I think what has been done previously as the interim director Hill was doing, to how I continued in that same vein, and I think Marcelina is trying to continue that, is minimal. I have seen more done, and I think that would be recommended against like a full detailed review of every meeting. But knowing that it is very difficult to get all of this accomplished, and I know Marcelina is doing a great job. She was yeoman's work for sure in regards to doing minutes. So I just, from that standpoint, just know that's from a historic standpoint what that looks like, as well as what has been in the tradition of the commission looks similar to what you've been doing, Marcelina.
Yeah, and I think if anybody looked at the transcripts, what's in here is so small. Like, those transcripts are long. So I'm trying to just capture generically just a little overview of maybe what the discussion was about without going into detail of every single thing that everybody's saying. Real quick on the minutes for September, the numeral number, I think it was already wrong on the agenda. So to not change things around, I just matched it up to how the agenda was, because that was already an error. So the number, I have been shorthanding. I haven't been doing complete sentences. If that's something that we want to do, I'm open to that, but I don't want to make them like much longer than what I'm already doing. And Dennis, I do apologize. I caught that I did have your name spelled wrong in 2 places when I went back and reviewed and made the corrections to the September minutes. So those have been corrected. So, and I'm also open to anybody else saying, hey, I'll do the minutes.
good luck
Yeah,
with that.
Well, and I
It's-
think the thing that's interesting, Marcy, is that, because you and I have tried doing a little bit of tag team, and whoever's running the meeting, then the other person's kind of trying to capture some notes during the meeting, but it's still kind of difficult to capture all of them.
Yeah.
But I think it's not as cumbersome if you have somebody that's in the meeting that's doing it during the meeting.
I guess the main point I was trying to make was, I think we're
Yeah.
doing more than it's actually required.
what you need is if there is a motion, who motioned, who seconded, and what the outcome of the vote.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot more than that. So, I mean, we're taking on a burden that we don't have to take on. So if somebody wants to take that on, Godspeed.
Yeah, so I'll be the first to say I've never been formally trained in taking minutes in meetings. So I'm, like Holly had just mentioned, I'm capturing some things now just so they're lined up with the agenda as we discussed, so that way they're pretty much done by the end of this, but yeah, I mean, if anybody feels really strongly that they feel really well versed in what needs to be captured and not, I'm open to passing that on to somebody else.
It's crickets over here, Marcy.
And I don't mind doing it, but I don't mind doing it. I probably am, I mean, they'll probably just continue to be done. I will be more diligent on the spell check. That I admit, sometimes I rush through them and don't catch everything. I can be more diligent there. But I certainly don't mind doing them, but they're just gonna continue to look like how they are.
And Marcy, I think with the opportunity that Holly's talking about, might make that a little bit easier if it's that something that could be a possibility as well.
So do you believe, just as a question, because no, took notes for like the ISSDA meetings as you go up to you get that, and at that organization, I mean, if Holly moves on a motion, that it's Holly moved that, and whoever seconded, their names listed, and then I've done things for other organizations. Oh, no, we just wanted that it was moved and seconded
And the vote.
so, and the vote. So how do you look at as far as on the motions? Does it need to be, if Don DeCock moves, does it need to say Don DeCock moved this, or does it?
I can double check in regards to the open meetings requirements, but traditionally what has been done as the executive directors or interims is they will mark who moved, who seconded, and the outcome.
Well, and I like that because then it identifies who put the motion out on the floor and who seconded it, who supported it, those types of things. So I support that, but I just, as a question, different organizations look at that a whole lot different.
And what could be done, maybe additional discussion in regards to a working session
And this was on the working session for next time.
for next time.
I had just done some research just to get my brain trying to kind of wrap around. You're correct. Everyone that I look at talks about who to motion first, who second, and if it, at minimum, if it was unanimous or not. Some of them literally call out each individual commissioner on there.
And depending on how big the vote is, if this is, if it's an important vote, they may do it as a roll call vote, or if it's been requested to have a roll call vote.
Yeah, if there's a roll call vote, then it should be listed by commissioner.
But I have a second amendment to Sam's motion. We had got 2 Roman numeral 6s. I'd recommend we renumber and change Roman numeral, second Roman numeral 6 to 7 and renumber the rest of the sections accordingly. 2 friendly amendments for Sam.
So is are we doing a motion for approval with the edits?
Well, it would be discussion in regards to the amendment to the motion.
So we need to have a discussion.
If it's supported to just renumber, I know that Marcelina had mentioned it, that there are 2 number 6s. So it would be an easy edit change to just change them to. So that is to approve the minutes with the amendment of the word of work to word. And then renumber the Roman numerals 7 down. Is that your amendment?
Yep.
Okay. So that, and then, so Sam, are you, as a friendly amendment to your motion, is that something that you support?
Yes.
So if discussion is done, you can have a vote.
Okay, so now we're gonna have a vote to approve the September meetings with the
Meeting,
September meeting with the suggested revisions from Commissioner Ron Singer. Let's go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it.
Just say motion or minutes approved as amended.
Okay.
That's really was the motion.
Thank you.
Okay. Just to make it easier.
No, appreciate it. All right, so now let's go ahead and move on to last month.
they need to do the minutes, the unapproved minutes for the working session. So that's September as well.
Okay, so the unapproved minutes for the September working session.
Motion.
We need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second. Second.
Give people time.
Can I, if I wasn't present, can I still?
Because you're present now.
Okay, I second that.
All right, so motion was made to approve the September working session. We'll take a vote. All in favor of approval?
So that discussion,
Aye.
discussion first.
Is there any discussion before we approve? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Guys have it. All right, moving on to October. Third time's a charm. Looking for approval for the October meeting minutes.
I have a couple of questions on content, if I may. I think paragraph 6, ALG is probably ALJ. Administrative Law Judge, is that what that? I think. It says ALG
Where are you, section?
6,
6.
Roman rule 6, ALG. October 20th.
Yep, I'm here. I'm just, I didn't write the minutes, so I'm just looking. Show me where you were. Okay, yes. So Marcelina, it looks like it's, instead of a G, it's a J.
Yeah, and then in Roman numeral 5, I didn't follow that second line. Appellant withdraw exhibits that are not related to this case and approved by Commissioner White.
That was a motion that, I don't think it was a motion. Appellant put in some additional exhibits right at the very end, and it turned out it was done by mistake. It was, same client, but wrong case, and
Right.
submitted to us when it should have been submitted to somebody else. And so,
And that just needed Holly's okay to remove it.
yes,
Okay, so the appellant withdrew exhibits not related to the case, probably period, and then what's approved by Commissioner White?
so that was allowed by Commissioner White. She had to, as she was the one running the
Oh.
meeting, she had to approve that those were going to be withdrawn.
Removed, yeah.
Okay, appellant withdrew exhibits that are not related to the case. Withdrawal was approved by Commissioner White. Okay. That's it.
Something that I think would be beneficial is, due to the fact that there was a hearing. Marcelina, I think the roll call needs to be explicit as to who was present.
Okay, on,
For October,
Like 1 or 6.
yeah.
for one, for the meeting in general, we need who was present for the meeting. So that way we know who was there, at the time of the hearing. So just copying what was from the September minutes as, it was the roll call to order, and then you have listed present down the list. And just have everybody listed out. And I believe, Marcelina, you were the only one who was present, virtually.
Mhm.
So, and then Dr. Kit was not there. So I think we just need to make sure we add that when you, so that should be in the amendment to I obviously can't officially request that amendment, but I'm just giving you information that I think is helpful for the minutes.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to amend my motion. That approve the minutes as amended
As a,
through the discussion.
through the discussion, that's wonderful, it's great.
And so we have a motion. Do we have a second to approve the minutes?
We do, we have both.
Okay.
We're just there, we're in the discussion and then was just an amended motion to
Okay.
include the amendment.
So are we done with the discussion? Anybody else have any?
I'm going to put a recommendation, Marcelina, to move the affirmed all of the ALJ's findings down to 7 in the findings. And then probably need to include what the increase was. That was to 20,000, is that?
Mhm.
And I will work with you on those changes, Marcelina,
Okay,
to get these out the door.
sounds good. Thank you.
I don't have any other comments.
It's good to move to
Can you do for a vote?
for a vote. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Wake up, Sam.
Aye.
Okay, yeah,
Thank
I
you.
have it. So those are approved as amended. All right, now we're gonna be moving on, acceptance of the agenda for today.
Need a motion?
So I move to accept the agenda.
Right, and then we'll have a vote or any discussion on that, on the agenda today.
Is there a second?
Yes.
There was, so we're ready to vote. All in favor for the agenda as written?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, I have it. Now we're moving on to public comment. I don't think anybody from the public has joined. Is there any written?
I don't see anything.
Okay, so we will move on from there, to standing business, the director's report.
Director's report was sent last night or yesterday afternoon. Information is in there, stand available for any questions that any of the commissioners have. I know there was one question earlier from Commissioner Madsager in regards to the PDQ for the civil rights specialist position. The link is included. I can print that out. I did double check. The link is working. But I can print that out for you before you leave.
Can you just give us like a hint as to what the, you expanded, so that means additional people will qualify.
Correct.
So what kind of qualifications would they have to have?
So so what is allowed is now anyone with a undergraduate degree and additional investigative experience will qualify, and those with that do not have a undergraduate degree but has years of experience or education courses can count towards those requirements in regards to with investigation background towards being able to meet the threshold to go through the minimum qualification. So we just were able to hire our first, well, we have 2 that have met each of the 2 changes. One we just had is Mary. Mary has a background, which I provided last month in regards to, she came from child welfare. has been doing an amazing job for us in regards to, she did previous investigative reporting regarding child abuse and neglect. And so she's made that great transition into our office. And then just starting this week is Josh Emery. He is former law enforcement, has some college education, but is mainly law enforcement, a former detective out in Atlanta. Has, I believe, over 10 years experience in regards to that. He's been with us since the beginning of the year, and we were just able to finally get that MQ process through. He's been putting out phenomenal work in our office. So we're excited to see the opportunity for non-JDs that have experience in drafting reports and investigations be able to utilize their skills with us.
I have to ask probably a couple of really dumb questions because most of this came up before you joined us because we were looking at, you know, the turnover and promotion opportunities and all that sort of thing. And are they practicing law or not practicing law if they have a JD? And so if the job now no longer requires a JD, is there any adverse impact on the JDs who are in the same position as far as future employment? Or another example is if you want to be motioned into practice in another state, you have to practice law. So since the position no longer requires a JD, they're certainly not practicing law.
Not necessarily.
I
We
mean,
do have some attorneys that work.
why don't with the position, if it no longer requires a JD, it's probably would not be defined as the practice of law. So
So-
if you wanted to motion in another jurisdiction, we could, you'd be able to say that you practice law if the position you're in does not even require a law degree.
I wouldn't know what that requirement would be for other states. This wouldn't be, there, we do have attorney one positions in our office. They
Yeah.
are not also required to be licensed attorneys, even though they hold the position of attorney one. Now, some of
Oh, I didn't
our,
realize that. The attorney one doesn't require a JD either.
no, it requires a JD. It does not require them to be practicing.
License, they don't have
Sure.
to have a
Yeah.
license, yeah,
Yes,
okay.
so even though they're titled attorney.
I told you it was gonna be a dumb question
No,
because
that's not-
I'd seen this come up before where people apply for various positions and then they're asked if they've actually practiced law. And
Mhm.
this was quite a debate we had, you know, a couple of years ago with regard to the turnover and you know, the nature of the job and that sort of thing. So that's why I'm asking the
Sure.
question. Yeah,
I think in regards to dealing with bureaucracy, so this is nothing that we're doing. This is requirements that are imposed on us through DAS, so the Department of Administrative Services. So I do my best to work with them and to see how we can provide flexibility that is tends to be very rigid. So that is why it has taken us over 5 months to be able to get those approvals through the process. So yeah, it's a difficult process and one that I'm very proud that we were able to get accomplished.
I guess at some point in time, I might ask the question if it has any adverse impact on the JDs out there as to whether they would want to apply for the job if it doesn't require a law degree. I'm not asking that question today, but I'm sort of curious about that because there are lots of positions in government and other places, you know, where you that require number one, a JD, number two, require that you have a license. And ours, of course, doesn't require the license. I was just, when I think back on all the issues we've had with turnover and people leaving early and not wanting to stay on board, I was just curious if this change would have any impact on that process.
I believe that we are
Yeah.
moving towards being more incorporated with the state as opposed to being an island on our own. And with that, there will be some opportunities for growth and opportunity to be more included within state government. And with that will come changes. Those I can't really talk about right now, but there are opportunities that I am working on to make sure that if an individual wants to stay within state government, that they have the background and professional experience be reciprocated between us and other agencies. And right now, we don't have that. The civil rights specialist is the only position that exists in state government and only exists with us. So there's nothing that is reciprocal through state government.
Okay, thank you. I promise you, dumb question.
No, that's great question. These have been surprisingly difficult processes that I think one of the words that we use with leadership is I'm just relentless when it comes to getting things that are right. So this was the right thing to do. We're going to be very watchful and to make sure that any individual that does come into that is part of our team is qualified for that position, whether they have a JD or not, that they're going to need to meet the writing expectations of our office. And I don't think we will see a slide to what happened before the JD requirement was put into place, because we have certain parameters out there currently to make sure, including reviewing writing samples in an anonymous way with leadership, to make sure that those individuals are qualified to do the work or with a bit of training can get up to that level, whether they're a JD or whether they come from a non-traditional background for what the work we do.
I was telling your report, I want to make one comment. It's your, the PDF of the, I'm not exactly sure what to call this, the,
It's a highlight
yeah.
of this year.
When it comes to the commission, we refer to 0 reports. And I think technically, this last year, we did the 1 report that's required by 216, the annual report. So we do 1. I mean, I realize we delegate that to the executive director of staff to prepare the report. So we did do the 1 report. The only other report, we've had 3 other reports submitted since I've been on the commission 2+ years. And those 3 reports were submitted in response to problems. So when you see 0 reports, one way I look at it is we're not doing much. Another way I can look at it, well, 0 reports is a good thing because it means we haven't had any problems that we had to address with the report. So I think the 0 reports is kind of ambiguous on this to me, because it means different things. And I think probably very few people outside the commission would have a clue as to what. But when I see 0 reports, that sort of implies that we're not doing something we're supposed to do. Just a thought. I don't know what you guys thought about it, but
Well, I seen 0 and thought that looks interesting on the report. Overall, I want to say, I think it's awesome. So big kudos. But then when I looked at that, it made me second guess, is there something that needs to be, like, is there something that we didn't do that needed to be done as well? Outside of what we've been doing? Like, is there something that
there's only 1 report required by 216.
And I would say, I would disagree in regards to whether it's delegated or something that is a day-to-day activity. So I would say that is of the agency side. So, and that will be 100% the work of my staff and will be for this next year. So we will be completing that, as I've said, we will be in the future.
That will actually tie into a later item here, which we can talk about later, because and that's whether 216 needs to be revised or not. Because when I read 216, when they use the term commission, they define commission as being 7 commissioners. And the statute goes on to say that the commission needs to file an annual report. So I think we've identified one of the ambiguities here, because in theory, if the commission is the commissioners have to file the annual report.
And they also need to investigate all of the complaints
Yeah, I
as
know.
well. And you're not doing that either. So I can say there is definitely some room for improvement in 216. So I'd agree with you.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going. That's why, but yeah, I like the whole document. It's just that I think
Thank
the
you. I
0
spent a very
reports.
long time on it.
Yeah, the 0 reports sends kind of a ambiguous signal, like we're not we're not doing something, or it's good, we don't have any reports because we don't have any problems. And I don't know which signal we're trying to send by the document.
Well, again, it's my document, so it was this is what I can report on. The last report that was submitted by the commissioners was over a year old, so it could not be included in fiscal year 23.
Which, and in my understanding, is a good thing, because we only do reports when we have identified a serious problem. Yeah.
If I might,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Sam.
I just want to say, Kristen, I really appreciate the detail that's in this report, and I also want to applaud you and your team for the changes that you've made with staffing, and I think the changes that you've made with not restricting the role to JDs, I think will be a positive for all of the consumers of the commission and for all Iowans. And frankly speaking, I think it's one of the most exciting changes that I have seen since coming on board of the commission. So thank you for your hard work on that.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate it.
No, it will also improve recruiting. It'll improve give more people of diverse backgrounds and opportunities for these roles, and I'm really excited about it. Perhaps as time goes on, and maybe this is something that you're already thinking about, but those who receive their actual law degrees and pass the bar would somehow be in a different or a bit of a higher classification.
I can tell you this is just the beginning.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Anybody else?
Question on the 3,000 people, it says 3,000 Iowans reach through outreach. What kind of outreach events are we talking about there?
So that's that 24 you're seeing up above.
Yeah.
Different opportunities that we get. So when you see those, I include it in the director's report, and it's been reported. I know that interim Director Hill would also provide that report as well. So we keep a section in here to let you know what we're doing and the number of individuals that we reach. So every month we provide that information. So this past month, Matt had an opportunity to speak at Newberry. So doing proactive education opportunities. This group, which I plan on reaching out to once we move, is very interested in making sure that their employees understand civil rights and that they make sure that they do not discriminate, have illegal discrimination when it comes to their housing. And so it's great to see that we're doing some of this proactive work and starting to build those types of relationships. So although it looks small in regards to the number that he reached in that engagement, this is throughout the entire state, is Newberry is located. So that it's just great to see that opportunity. Jennifer, I know we didn't quantify where Jennifer's engagement. I don't know how many people were at that event. It's been rescheduled a few times, was originally in person and went virtual, and was virtual with the Historic Society. So that one was talking about specifically the Emma Kroger case and desegregation in regards to steam travel. So that was one of those cases that you look at Iowa history and civil rights. It's neat to know that we are in a state that was on the cutting edge when it came to protecting civil rights. And then today, Fred, Sarah, and Katie are out. That's why Katie is not with us today, but they're headed out right now to go to a CLE where they will be presenting on civil rights. So we have opportunities. So they will then quantify the number of individuals they reached at their events as well. But the way that we're able to get those bigger events is we go to, so one of the last ones we went to this summer was Celebration. And we get, we have a booth, we have, sometimes we have a spinning wheel, there's prizes, there's candy. And so they tally up every time that they interact with somebody, they give out brochures. And so anybody that we sit down with our education and outreach team and talk about where we want to go. We used to do the state fair. That is something that has gone to the wayside just because of how much it takes to staff that for our office. But and it's in our busiest month of the year in August. So there's opportunities throughout the entire year. We're going to be sitting down here in January talking about what the rest of the next 6 months look like. Would love to have any commissioner support. We can let you know when things are happening. And if you'd like to come stop by, hand out t-shirts, that's how so when we buy our big bulk, I think we just budgeted 10,000 for t-shirts for this coming year. And that was through a partnership fund that we get through the federal government. And so we will be handing out t-shirts there and do it. So we get that's where we get those opportunities happening. Charles said that the 3,000 seems a little bit low. I bet we're closer to 4,000, but I wanted to be on the safe side when presenting to the governor.
I would be interested in coming down for outreach events.
I would love that. That'd be wonderful, Sam. I will, when we get our calendar set up, I will make sure we share that with all the commissioners and let you know kind of what that looks like. And it's we do flex time for our staff so that they can, if they are out doing that on a weekend, that means that they'll have the ability to take that time off during the week because we have to adhere to that strict requirement. We're there as hourly employees.
Any other discussion around the director's report? All right, we'll move on to old business, the board and commission committee review.
Oh, I do see on here, there was a question about the budget. Is that a question from you, Sam?
Just you mentioned it last time, I think. I was just curious what you're asking for and what the governor's office expectations were, and if you're seeking new FTEs, just general budget update on what you're asking for.
Sure. So as my budget in those discussions with Dial, because they are now representing us in those discussions when preparing the budget. I had my own separate discussion with the governor in regards to our office, specifically in regards to budget and policy. The appropriation that we requested was the same appropriation as we did last year. There is across the board, agencies are not requesting additional increases in general funds, and we will continue with that same request, keeping us at the appropriation that has been given to us last year. There is no request for additional FTEs. And in my current position, being that I've only been here not even 7 months, I don't know where I would be considering whether or not there would be a need for additional FTEs. We have additional federal funds that we're currently working through right now to help with the backlog. We have continually hired part-time staff through those additional dollars. Now they're not full-time FTEs, and with those requests for full-time FTEs is a lot of work in regards to understanding that budget request. But what we can do is hire part-time staff. We have seen great opportunities with the part-time staff that we have hired. In fact, hiring Josh on full-time here was one of those benefits. We were able to bring him on with his background and experience from a part-time position, and then eventually train him to see civil rights the way we see it as we're doing those investigations. And now he is hitting the ground running day one as a full-time CRS. So it's a great pipeline for us in the part-time work. We also found out that we are at max capacity here in the office. So that tells you that we are utilizing the staff that we can with the dollars that we have. We are having to hotel one of our part-time mediators because there is no space left in our office for everybody. So the move to 6,200 next month is going to, in some aspects, I mean, yes, it's difficult, but in a lot of aspects, it's going to really be an opportunity for our office to utilize those part-time staff members in a way and consider whether we can add a few more with more space.
Thank you.
Now, old business, boards and commission committee review. I think you wanted to add that to the old business. update.
I guess, Kristen, have you gotten any rudder from the governor's office with regard to the road ahead on that? I talked to a couple folks, but I was sort of curious. Are they?
Working through it with the governor's office to see what it is that they're interested in.
Yeah, I talked to Nate Ristow before the report came out, and then he's out of the office now for a family emergency and referred me to Jacob Nicholson, the COO, but they were not, well, they basically he indicated that the next step has not been decided yet. It may be either legislature or committee or the governor's office that how to deal with the report. He also indicated that they would certainly welcome input from commission staff and commissioners, particularly with identifying problems with 216 ambiguous areas that need to be fixed. That they both agreed that this issue that Kristen and I talked about earlier with regard to what do they mean by quote commission close quote, and the statute is clearly ambiguous right now. They agreed with that. They also agreed that the statute could be much clearer with regard to whether or not the ICRC has an advocacy role. Before you two gents joined us, we had a bit of a debate over whether or not we could advocate for particular groups. And one commissioner, Patricia, who argued that we have to be quote neutral under the statute. I disagreed. I don't think there's anything in the statute that requires us to be neutral except with regard to the hearings that we conduct, and clearly we have to be neutral. But as far as advocacy is concerned, there's nothing in 216 that says we have to be neutral on those issues. So that's certainly something that can be clarified in the statute. My view is that we need to be active and identify any ambiguities the staff sees in 216, any ambiguities we see, and be prepared to report to the governor's office and respond to the state legislature with regard to those issues.
So in regards to staff, that is obviously a day-to-day function and not be appropriate for commissioners to engage with. So if there was a concern in regards to my staff, they'd be directing it to me and not to the commission.
I didn't quite follow that. I was just saying that when I talked to Nate and Jacob, they indicated they would be receptive for recommendations from both commissioners and the staff with regard to clarifications in the statute.
Correct.
Okay,
And so,
sure.
and staff would come to me and I would provide that information to the governor's office.
And the legislature.
So again, my boss is different. So my boss is the governor. So my direction is in regards to how I work and engage with the governor, as well as my agency side. So in regards to the legislature, again, my boss is the governor. So when working with the legislature, I work in a capacity that is appropriate with.
Yeah, no, I certainly understand that. I think the commissioners have a slightly different role.
100%.
But in order to actually perform that role, I think we will need to talk to the professional staff with regard to.
And I am
their
here
concerns as
and
well.
I'm available to have those conversations with you whenever you would like to.
Well, I'm not dealing, it's not a one-on-one, I'm talking about the commission.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that we need to come up, in my view, we need to come up with a clear game plan as to how we approach this issue. I think we would be derelict in the performance of our duties if we don't get prepared to respond to the boards and commission review committee report. I mean, it's pretty clear tasker from them saying that the statute is ambiguous and it needs to be fixed. So we need to do something. I mean, there's a variety of things we can do. We can establish a committee. We can put it on the agenda for the next meeting, ask the executive director to report to us with regard to what ambiguities the staff has identified. When you gets to the advocacy role, that gets a little bit more dicey because I today don't know whether or not the governor would like the commission to have an advocacy role. Maybe somebody else knows the answer to that question. I don't know the answer to the question. Those are things I think we need to get clarified. When you look at the two statutes, the human rights statute and our statute, they are very similar, but people have said at our meetings that the human rights commission has an advocacy role, but we don't. If you look at the two statutes, I don't see any difference. Those are things that I think need to be clarified. Does anybody else have any thoughts on the road ahead? I mean, I don't think we can bury our collective heads in the sand on the issue. I think we have to do something. Or if you want to have a vote today that says we do absolutely nothing and ignore the issue, we can have that vote as well.
If I might.
Go ahead.
First of all, Dennis, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you, but I think I got most of it. Kristen, how much of this becomes self-evident as we continue to go through the review that we're already going through?
What review are you?
Well, the review that
The regs.
Thank you.
Oh, the EO10?
yeah,
Is that what you're referring to, Sam?
Yep.
Yeah, two separate issues.
We get through the two chapters. Once we're through the two chapters, then we can go back and address the other.
It's
other
just,
parts.
so this is just, they're different. That's how I would describe it. So if the legislature came in January and decided to eliminate the commission, they eliminate the commission. They could, there is a state in the 50 states that does not have a civil rights commission. The legislature could do whatever, that's their job as the legislature. They're going to write they're going to draft the laws and
I
then
think
pass them.
I'm not sure we're on the same.
I'm talking about boards and commissions.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
this specific time or agenda item is on the review of the boards and commission, which right now, I think the recommendation is that and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Monsager, that they would remove 2 commissioners and it would be 5 instead of 7 on the Civil Rights Commission, but any changes could
So
come.
again,
And then it
I'm
seemed
just
like it
giving,
Yeah.
Change to changing
Yeah.
our.
So, all right, so again, I'll do a little civics. So the legislature drafts and passes the laws, the executive branch enforces the laws. In this case, the executive branch can come in and make recommendations for legislation to be introduced. It happens all the time. Budget is one of those areas that are constitutionally required. So when it comes to policy, there are agenda opportunities from the governor that she provides at the beginning of session. She has identified boards and commission review as one of those. The only way to change how the Civil Rights Commission or any board or commission would be through statute. So it has to go through the legislative process. So right now, what has been tasked of the agencies and specifically of the boards and commissions committee is to review which ones should be eliminated, which ones should be changed, which ones should stay the same. That is what that report is. From that report, how it works, the governor's office has the ability to request draft legislation. That I've been told that deadline is the end of this month. And with that, the governor has to find an individual in the legislature to run that bill, to introduce that bill on behalf of the governor. That happened last year in regards to the ESA bill, to kind of just give you an idea of what type of legislation, like how that would work. So the ESA bill was drafted in part originally from the governor's office, then goes through the legislative process. Everyone negotiates, they get a bill that is able to be passed in the House and Senate, then signed by the governor. So that's your Civics 101. In this case, so the governor has identified over the summer that boards and commissions is an area that she would like to address. So she put a committee together, which included some elected officials. I think they were ex officio, and then her team, which ended up being those that are a couple of the cabinet members, as well as some of her the governor's staff. They came up with the report. They came up with a draft recommendation. They had their meeting. Then they had a second draft and meeting. Those might be out of order. And then this is the outcome. So from there, it would be the governor's office to draft legislation based on the report and find an elected official to introduce that legislation come next session. Now that obviously is going to go through the legislative process, would be House and Senate, opportunities to appear at hearing, and those opportunities as well. It's going to work. That's the sausage being made. And then if that bill passes, then that would go to the governor to be signed. So what could happen? Anything could happen. I'm just telling you, anything could happen. So if there was a board that was recommended to be eliminated by the boards and commissions, and the legislature says, no, we don't want to eliminate that board or commission, then they're going to bring that one back. That's the give and take of the checks and balances. So that being said, the governor's office has recommended the Civil Rights Commission go from 7 to 5, and also review powers and duties that sit within 216. That I love talking civics, and I didn't want to. I want to keep it at a basic level.
I think the last.
Does that make sense?
I think the last sentence is what I needed. So
Okay.
yeah, we're good.
It's just there's no way to know what could come.
When it started going into more of the duties and
That is part
the
of,
powers and the duties, I was missing that component when I flipped through there.
yes, that's in the final
So
review.
I thought we shifted back to the other topic
Oh,
versus it being on.
The regs, you mean? Oh, okay.
I thought we had shifted with that because I missed that piece.
any questions in regards to how that process is going to work?
Well, the reason I requested that this be on the agenda is that I think we have a role to play. We have to decide whether or not we're gonna participate, or we're gonna just be silent and not participate in the process. Both Nate and Jacob indicate that our participation would be welcome. My view is that the staff is the one that really knows the details of particular problems with ambiguities in the statute. But there are things that we obviously have identified as ambiguities as well.
And I think you should focus on what the commission believes are ambiguities, not what my team believes are ambiguities.
I would disagree in part with that. I would think that we would want to hear from the staff with regard to what they think are ambiguities, just to make sure we had a, you know, a thought through the process.
And I
rather
think
than
you're
just
making a
proceeding with that.
misunderstanding that that hasn't already been done. It's just not something I can share with you.
Am I the only one that doesn't understand that?
Yeah, so again, as I keep reminding you, my boss is the governor.
Right.
So we are at, as I've said in previous meetings, there's not necessarily where we are going to necessarily align in all areas. So by taking away powers and duties from the commission necessarily would create conflict between our, what is the agency and what is the commission. So again, I don't doubt that the agency is weighing in. We're just weighing in from the governor's side of it. The governor's office is asking you to weigh in from the commissioner side of it, should you want to.
I would think though that we could certainly, I mean, under this current 216, we could certainly task the staff to tell us.
What would you like to know?
I would like to know what their recommendations are with regard to the Board of Commissioners Review Committee report.
Sure. When I have the ability to provide that information, I will provide it to you.
And I would also like to know what if any, recommendations would be made with regard to amendments of 216.
When I'm able to do that, I will.
And am I the only one with a quizzical look? I guess you all are fully understanding what's going on here. I don't want to do all the talking, but when I don't fully understand. I mean, could we sit down now with everybody in the office and ask each one of them, do you have any problems with the statute and what would you like to fix?
No, from day-to-day operations, that would be a leadership opportunity. And no, I wouldn't be working. I wouldn't allow you to access my staff in regards to that.
Well, we could task them under the statute to do that. 216 would clearly provide us that authority.
Yes, we can see if I would follow through with that ask.
But I'm not trying to make this hard. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to make sure that the commissioners are smart on what the staff thinks needs to be fixed in 216. I mean, I think, for example, we've already identified the fact that quote, commission close quote is ambiguously defined in the statute.
Yes,
And so there probably are other things, and you guys are the experts,
yes.
and
And
we're
that,
not.
as experts, we have provided that information to the governor's office as requested.
Oh, so it's already been provided.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess we have to submit a records request to the governor's office.
Sure.
I think this is all somewhat bizarre, but I'd like to hear from the other commissioners on the issue. I don't quite follow this.
I'm following, I'm just not exactly sure how to articulate it. Like, I'm completely following, what's going on, in this conversation, but I don't know how to speak to it right now and paraphrase it.
I'll go back to Jacob and see what he has to say, and Nate, when Nate gets back.
I think-
Got some other thoughts on it.
If I'm trying to advance this conversation in a productive way, I feel like what Dennis is wanting to know is if we as commissioners want to be collaborative with the team and support your recommendations, then it would be helpful to have feedback so that we don't have any blind spots. I mean, obviously you are running the day-to-day. I mean, I've glanced at the boards and commission committee review document, but have I been able to capture all that and not be my day-to-day work? No, I haven't. So, you know, I think it's a collaborative approach. I think if there's powers and duties that are being revised, I think it's fair to say that we do identify things from our purview that we could go and do on our own. You're trying to keep it segmented with where there's the commission and then there's the commissioners. And I can see that. But I also see the point of we all want this clarified.
Well, we're trying to make 216 a better statute. I mean, it's the bottom line. That's what we're.
And we
all
don't know
trying to
whether,
do.
I mean, we don't know what's been recommended. I'm not going to take a leap. I mean, you've done a fantastic job. So I'm sure whatever's been submitted is going to be covering the basis of the struggles that we've had. because she's experiencing them as well. From my perspective, it'd be more trying to support what the efforts are that you guys are trying to accomplish as well and understand them. And if there is anything else, just collaborative, it's. I will pause there.
If and when I have the ability to share information, I will share it.
Anything from anybody online?
I guess my only comment regarding the reduction in the number of commissioners is when you have a statewide panel with 5 members, and there's a requirement in the code also for gender balancing and geography balancing, and political party balancing. I think that gets harder to do with 5 than 7, but I'm sure that's already been, discussed, but
I think that'd be a great opportunity if that's something you'd like to share with the governor's office. I think that'd be something that they'd be interested in hearing.
well, if that's something that you've advocated for 5, I really don't want to go against what you've
I
advocated
can-
for. I don't want to be, things are going so well, Kristen, I don't want to.
I did
lean
not
sideways.
advocate. Yes, I did not advocate in regards to the change in number, if that's your question. That was not my doing.
Well, so let's spend a moment focusing on that part of it. Does the commission feel like that's a area that we should weigh in on? You have three factors. Again, geography, political party, and gender balancing. And I know the governor's talk and others have talked about getting rid of the gender balancing requirement on the state committees. I know that's been discussed in the League of Cities. But anyway, those 3 requirements are still in place. Can that still be done with a 5-member board, or is that something that we should make the governor's office and this panel aware of that concept? Maybe they've already discussed it.
That was gonna be my feedback, was if they are looking at reducing the number of people on the board, I would, is that still going to be in effect, or is that part of the overall change? And I don't know the answer to that.
My recollection from reviewing the findings from the committee is that they were looking to reduce the number of members of boards and commissions.
Just overall.
Yeah, it's pretty much across the board. It's not unique to ICRC, so I think they want to cut down on the expense and the admin requirements and, you know, it's a huge project. There's a gazillion boards and commissions, and, you know, some of them don't ever meet, and it's a big project. So I mean, I don't know if the state legislature could address the entire package in one session. That would be a big job. But I obviously going from 5, I've been going from 7 to 5, you lose a little bit of diversity, no question about that. Marcy and I discussed that a little bit offline. But I don't have any compelling argument to say that going from 7 to 5 is a bad move. I mean, there's a lot of reduction of expenses and admin hassles and the like across the board with the many boards and commissions. I mean, I'm certainly not opposed to that. I don't recall seeing anything in the report about whether they want to eliminate the gender diversity requirement. I don't recall seeing anything about the political party. Does anybody else recall whether that was in there or not? I don't remember seeing that in the
Party
report.
requirement for the board. Yeah, there's supposed to be a
Elimination?
No, no, no.
No, there is one.
Yeah, no, was there a proposal to eliminate that in the report? I don't recall seeing that.
No, and I don't
I don't think
believe
so.
overall either.
No, I don't think that's there. So the only real issue is gender and numbers, I think, for us.
And I'm reviewing 216.3 now. We don't have a gender issue, so it's just geography as practicable, and no more than 4 members of the commission may belong to the same political party. So those are the only requirements for our commission. But I do know that the gender balancing is an issue in a lot of other commissions and boards.
I don't have a strong feeling against reducing the number. I think overall, the strategy to what they're doing makes sense. I'm happy to see that they didn't completely remove any sort of board in its entirety.
The only negative that I see from 7 to 5 is quorum becomes harder. So 3 would be needed for a quorum.
Yeah, any other thoughts, Marcy?
No, that's too much different than what's been said. I mean, I agree with Sam that it certainly poses more challenge to meet those requirements. I think you potentially lose the opportunity for geographical participation as well, going less. I think you can cover more parts of the state if you have some more, but I mean, I don't think I have, to Dennis's point, any like strong argument to say why it has to be 7 versus 5.
Well, in my 2.5 years, the only issue that I've seen actually identified clearly as far as 216 is concerned is this provision with regard to recommendations to the legislature and whether or not we want to be advocates. Should we or should we not advocate in favor of not eliminating gender identity as a protected class? That's really been the only statutory issue that has come up in my 2.5 years. Some of you have served longer than me, some of you have served less, but that's the only issue that I'm aware of from my experience. Are there any other 216 issues that have been identified that I don't recall?
And to clarify specifically under powers and duties.
Right. I mean, that's the only one that I've seen in 2.5 years.
That, to my recollection, that's the only one I've seen us debate on, and that's taken.
And quite frankly, my preference would be that it simply be clarified. I'm not even sure I'm going to advocate on either side of that issue. I just think it should be clear. Or do we have an advocacy role or do we not have that role? If we have the role, then we need to weigh in. If we don't have that role, then we don't have an obligation to weigh in. So I mean, that needs to be clarified in my view. Do we have a show of hands here? Who wants to advocate? Who doesn't want to advocate?
I would just align with it needs to be clarified, and I don't know that that's already been, recommendations already been made. But I think that it does, so they should clarify.
Well, I made it to Nate and Jacob already, but I will again, but I don't have a clue as to which way the governor's office would want to go on that particular issue. I am guessing probably they would not want us to be an advocacy organization. One of the difficulties is the way we are constituted. I mean, we don't really have expertise in civil rights. The expertise is in the staff, it's not with the commissioners. That's one of the strange things with this beast of 216. So you know, it makes it difficult. So let's say, assume for the sake of argument that we all agree on one issue, that this advocacy issue needs to be resolved in a amendment to 216. The next question would be, how do we advocate that? Do we have a vote and we create a letter that goes to the governor's office, and do we direct our ICRC lobbyist to raise that issue if and when a bill comes up in the state legislature? I mean, we have lobbyists there now. I think to date, all they do is the financial analysis on various bills. I think that's what we've been told before. But not actually advocated with regard to substance in any of the bills. And Kristen has advised that there is no record of how the commissioners weighed in on inclusion of gender identity as a protected class. Maybe the record was destroyed because it's past the 5 years minimum or the 5-year requirement or something, but
That is not what I said. What I said is that that record would be held by the legislature. They're the custodian of the document. That document would either
no,
be.
I was not trying to say what you said. I'm just saying perhaps there was a record and it perhaps got destroyed here. Because if we would have advocated, if our lobbyists would have advocated for that.
Like I said,
there
we are
would be
not
a
the
record.
custodian of the document. The document will exist with the legislature, and that document would be with the Historic Society, and that's where you would need to go.
No,
find that
I've already
information.
done that, but I would think that if we had directed our lobbyists to advocate for something, there would be a record at the ICRC somewhere.
Again, it's not a required custodial document that we are required to keep.
No,
So-
I understand that, and it's more than 5 years ago.
And we have different retention policies based on different types of documents. So
right.
like personnel documents, we have to keep forever, 75 years after they have been terminated. So it just depends on the type of document. That document is not a document.
Do
that would be-
you remember who brought that up? This came up at an earlier meeting sometime before Kristen joined us, about somebody at one of the meetings said that the commissioners had weighed in on that issue, but I can't remember who said it. Was it probably?
You're asking me?
Yeah,
I
you were
mean-
at the meeting. I just can't remember who said that.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I'm sure that was probably seen in old minutes or something like that, that were on our website at the time. But, that's all I know.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So yes, but if the document exists, it would.
no,
exist
I've already chatted with her and we're trying to look that up now, but I didn't get her email until shortly before the meeting, so I haven't had time to wade in. So I guess the question is, we've identified one issue. Do we want to weigh in or do we not want to weigh in? Do we have a motion? Can we have a motion? I guess it's on the agenda.
Or we weigh in as individuals too, that's the other option, right?
I might.
Please.
I'd just like to say this has been a great discussion. I'm not going to make a motion if somebody else wants to offer one. I listen to what they have to say, but Kristen, when you see the governor, if you could pass on to her my appreciation for taking a look at this whole issue. This is not easy for an executive to take a look at the boards, commissions, and committees, because you're barbecuing a tremendous number of sacred cows. And it just isn't easy. So I very appreciative of this exercise. I would say that as soon as you're able and willing to share the recommendations, I'm sure we would join you in supporting those, and I think there's strength in that. But I appreciate this review. This is probably 100 years overdue. I remember when I was mayor of Rapid City and helped eliminate I think 137 boards, commissions, and committees, and I upset a lot of people. It's not easy to do. And but what's interesting is that even though I was criticized for doing it, a lot of what I did is still in place today, and that feels pretty good.
I appreciate that, Sam. Thank you. And I will pass that along when I see her.
Well, I would suggest we do this. I would suggest we put this on the agenda for the December meeting, number one, and number two, that we all be prepared to respond to a motion as to whether or not we should weigh in on the particular 216 issue that I identified earlier.
I think it's due by the end of this month, isn't it?
Perhaps it,
Is that what you said? It's,
So how drafting works in this state is, agency, governor proposals, I believe, have to be submitted to LSA by the end of the month. It is not something that we're partaking in, so it's not something I'm aware of in regards to specific deadlines.
okay.
I don't think the issue will actually, it's not gonna be resolved before the December meeting, number one. And number two, I don't think we're prepared to vote on it today. And perhaps Kristen will be able to share with us some of the staff's views with regard to the issues by the December meeting, and we can make a more informed decision at that point in time. Better idea? Got open ears?
I'm okay with picking it up next meeting, like becoming more prepared. I haven't looked into the section hardly at all, so.
That was something I was gonna say is that, you know, we have the working sessions that we need to resume as well. And part of some of the stuff that I had suggested was that this stuff needs to be on the agenda, or we need to be made aware of what the conversations are going to be a little bit sooner, to refamiliarize ourselves, since we're not in this day in and day out, so that we can have a more meaningful conversation that's clear and concise and feel actionable.
I would agree, because when I saw boards and commission committee review, I thought it was the red tape review again as well, so.
Oh, we see, it was in Kristen's report at the last meeting, the exact language from the report. So I was just totally focused on the two sentences in Kristen's report, which quoted from the actual boards and commission review committee report.
And I went to the website and had looked through some of that and read through and missed the component about the powers and duties being.
You probably looked at the first one, and not the second report.
Yeah, it's quoted in her report for the October meeting. And it's really short. It's two sentences. I mean, that's why I called up Nate to say, what does this mean? Because it's hard to tell.
Yeah, and I think that's where I lean on trusting leadership as well. There's a component of that, because last month there was a lot of information that we were reviewing in preparation for the hearing, which I felt like was where my focus needed to be with the time that I have to commit. So if it was something that I read and didn't fully consume in a way that was meaningful at that time, that's. All right, any other, so we'll keep this
So
on.
there, yeah, I was gonna say, a
Old
motion
business?
to keep it on as old business.
I motion to keep it on as old business.
And there will be a motion for the next meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Marcy, I think I see your head nodding. You're on mute.
But I was on mute.
All right, I have it, so we'll keep this on the old business for the next meeting that we have. Next agenda item, we don't have any new business on here. And so that puts us into the commissioners' reports. My name is on there first. We can flip that if we want to go back to the end, Marcy. I don't have anything to report. And Commissioner Ordaz?
Nothing to report today. Thank you.
Commissioner Ardez, can you share with the commissioners the update in regards to Tyler and the draft?
Yes, yes. So we know that we made the decision, and I think that was the important part, that at least at the last meeting, we came out of there and were able to announce what our final decision was, which from the previous case, I know that didn't happen because we still had further discussion. So the good thing is the parties know because we publicly announced what our decision was. He is still working on the actual document itself. He has not had time to put it together. So he said by next meeting, he will have the document of which we will sign that just confirms what we already publicly announced. So that's why it was not on the agenda today. From a time perspective, I know last time there was concern that the parties didn't know and we needed to get them an answer. It's a little bit different since they do know what our decision was coming out of last meeting. It's just not on the paper of which we signed. So he's working on that. He appreciated that. He just needed a little more time on that. So that is why that's not on the agenda, but we will see that to sign off on at the next, whenever the next meeting is.
Thank you. Was there anything else that you had?
No, that was it. Thank you. I forgot about that. Thank you, Kristen.
All right, on to Commissioner Munzinger.
I think I've used up my quota already, so I'll pass.
All right, Commissioner Quaker,
No, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
you too. Commissioner Takar,
I'm continuing to go through some law enforcement reports. They moved it out of a file cabinet, put it in a box for me. It's got my name on it, so we're looking forward to the move over to 6200, whatever the address is. And resuming, really getting back into the office to do some more of that.
all right, Commissioner Kennedy,
Nothing to report.
all right. So that brings us to setting the next meeting. You had referenced the move, it's been spoken about a few times, so with the staff making that physical move and the setup, it's been requested that we postpone our December meeting and resume in January to accommodate for the staff. So I'll start off with some discussion around that and what the next date will be.
And I know that I might have made my motion today rather than postpone it until January.
Well, that
That'd be
was
too
one thing
late.
that I read on this one.
Yeah, it was a pretty tricky maneuver on the part of the acting chair.
No, it was there. And no decision was made, so I think it's still a conversation and
We're excited for the move. It has been a long process. And we still have a lot to do before the end of the month. So we appreciate the flexibility because I just don't know it's not saying that the commission couldn't have a meeting. I just don't know if you would get us at the meeting. And that is, we're happy to leave a recorder and a computer at our new location, but because of this is such a big undertaking, I don't know, it's going to take us a couple weeks till we're back up and functioning.
If I might.
Yep.
I have city budget coming up in January, and so, you know, if I look at the Fridays in January 12 is the best date for me. But I'm okay with what you guys come up with.
and it does not have to rest on me, but I will be out of the States on that particular Friday and not be able to join.
On the 12th.
On the 12th.
The 15th is a holiday. That's the day where that's Dr. Martin Luther King's Commemoration Day. We are looking at the potential, this is me getting a lot of things in order, potentially having a display at the Capitol that week and being able to engage with elected officials at some point that week. just so you know, if you're looking for opportunities to engage from that aspect. Very preliminary discussion, but just want you to realize what that day is. That first week is a lot of pomp and circumstance. I will need to attend the condition of the state. Not sure exactly what day that will be, but just know that first week is just a lot of stuff for Capitol.
So when are you looking at possibly doing something at the Capitol?
It would be the week of the 15th. So the 15th is a day off.
Right.
It's a state holiday. And I was told by some of my friends at the Capitol that we shouldn't look before that, because I was hoping I'd get them all in ICRC t-shirts. As long as we're handing them out, we should be okay at that point. But it looks like it will have to be after that week, or after that day, that first week, because they said that nobody will be responsive to us at the Capitol, because they're not looking for that, those types of table setups until the week of the 15th.
Well, just to let you know, 17th is Veterans Day at the Capitol.
Okay. Good to know.
Just so you know that.
Okay.
And I serve on the American Legion Commission for the Legislative Commission for the American Legion in Iowa, so
Wonderful.
I will be there.
January 17th is Veterans Day and Iowa Veterans Day. I had no idea.
It's their advocacy day. Is that?
Yeah, there'll be some stuff there. We'll have a meeting down at the department headquarters, and then we'll come to the Capitol to have conversation with our legislators, and we have some main emphasis. I think I don't know whether this is appropriate to share now or not, but and this kind of goes along with the conversation that you and I have had about tracking veterans through, whether they're the complainant or the victim or the respondent. But we are, one of our items is veterans courts. Just so everybody that's here knows, Veterans Court it's not a get out of jail free. It really is helping get that individual the help and the guidance and et cetera they need, whether that may be a substance abuse issue, whether that's mental health issues, whether that's PTSD issues, whether it's whatever. And if they fulfill that, yes, then some things are gonna fall away, but if they don't fulfill what they're supposed to do,
I prefer the get out of jail free card myself.
but it's, so that's one of the areas that we'll be working on, but so I'll definitely be at the Capitol on the 17th.
Okay. So you need your shirt.
Yeah, well, I'll be wearing an American Legion shirt that day.
It was a good try. I like it.
But,
Like a Superman thing, you'll have like half the hat.
Well,
So what day are we
I
looking
can
at
have it
here?
along, and once we are done with our thing, I can always go slip it on. But anyway, just so you know, as you look at
Dates.
dates,
I
I
appreciate that.
tell you, I let you know that.
So 15th is caucus day too, so that's gonna be a lot of stuff going on.
That is, yes.
You know, the 12th is kind of gonna be an awkward time with all the caucus organization stuff happening too. I would think the 19th or 26th would probably be better
I would
Fridays than the 12th.
have to go with the 26th.
I can do any Friday in January, but so
I also can do any Friday.
As far as I know, I could be, but I will also say that there's a slight chance I could towards the end of January end up back in Uganda for a while. For a couple weeks.
I think we're looking at the
But no.
19th is our normal time to meet.
Third Friday.
Friday the 19th?
I can't on Friday the 19th.
Oh, I thought 12th was your bed.
Both of them.
Oh.
They actually are.
2 of the 4 Fridays.
Well,
Sam, are you
okay.
on? Sam,
the
did you
time
say you're
frame-
unavailable on the 19th?
I can make them all work. It's just the first best is the 12th, the second best is the 5th. And the
Yeah,
other
I think-
three,
Okay. I think we just go back to, we said the third Friday of every month. If that's still, as long as we always have a majority, my recommendation would be the 19th, so we stick to that.
I
But
thought that
I will-
might-
I
I
will,
thought that
I
might be a
will,
problem for Kristen. Unless
oh, the 19th was, yeah, okay.
the week of
No,
the week of the
no, no,
15th. No,
that will be fine. The 19th is fine for me.
and if I
Okay.
can make it on the 19th, I will make it. I just know if I don't get back until the 18th, then it's gonna be my first day back in the office, so to carve out for 4 hours.
Yeah,
I have to focus on my day job. It'll be a little
Yeah.
behind, so.
So we're
yeah,
gonna
but
set
I
the
mean,
19th.
I'm open, I mean, if we want to move it to the 26th, any Friday works for me. I don't know how much we want to stick to keeping it to the third Friday to be consistent.
Let's say if
As
the
long as
majority
there's the
can-
majority, but
If the majority can make it on the same day, I say we keep it consistent.
I agree.
All right, so everybody comfortable with January 19th?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that does not require a vote, correct?
No.
Yay, I got one. Full disclosure, I was not, like, my brain was not in like running mode, Marcy, when I came, so I didn't think through like the process of things and brush up a little bit more, so I apologize for everybody who
That's
has
okay.
suffered. through
that's
that.
okay. I appreciate you covering these 2 months. It always seems to happen every year around the same time. These 2 months get pretty hectic for me, but next year I won't have a high schooler anymore, so my October will free up, but we'll see
I
about
just think
November.
I just find it bizarre that as many meetings as we've sat in, that my brain still doesn't connect, like the flow of how we do things. You think it would be routine?
They
No,
just
it
had
takes a
a
while.
thing on Robert's rules this week and I just couldn't get around to getting to it, but I thought, yeah. Maybe next time we'll both go.
Let me know.
Yeah, yeah, it takes a while.
All right, so with that, I think we are good to adjourn at 2:55.
move to adjourn.
I would say.
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
You've stopped recording.
It's done.